I'm Chanel Rion. If you were to ask the average American whether they trust the FBI, how would they respond? The answer lies in the story of Charles F. McGonigal, FBI poster boy, handcuffed and hauled away this week because he was caught. Caught being the Kremlin's most valuable asset. Charles McGonigal wasn't just some low-level treasonous double agent who got cash for trash. McGonigal was the FBI counterintelligence chief in New York, specializing in Russian intelligence. He was also the FBI's cybercrimes chief in Washington, D.C. And buckle up, here's the irony, McGonigal was neck-deep in the Trump-Russia hoax, fueling FBI conspiracies that Trump was a Russian agent. Color America shocked. The guys who lied and said Trump was a Russian spy are themselves Russian spies? Cue theme song. So yes, Charles McGonigal is about to go down in history as the highest-ranking FBI agent charged with working on behalf of the Kremlin. Of course, he pleads not guilty. Here's what McGonigal was caught and charged with Monday. We learned from the Southern District of New York, of all places, McGonigal was working with a powerful Russian oligarch named Oleg Deripaska. McGonigal is charged, among other things, with taking secret payments from this oligarch. Deripaska, who at one time was Russia's richest man, in exchange for illegal favors. On a side note, you don't become the richest man in Russia without Vladimir Putin's explicit blessing. Deripaska is still a billionaire, yes, with a B, but nowadays, Deripaska has a problem. He is a sanctioned man, banned from traveling and doing business on American soil or with Americans. Deripaska wanted those sanctions lifted so he could freely travel to America. McGonigal was the guy to help him. According to this week's criminal indictment against McGonigal, this top FBI official sat in a parked car outside a New York restaurant while a Deripaska lackey handed him a bag of cash, $80,000. McGonigal is also charged with having received 2 more such payments soon after, all while still receiving a salary paid for by you, the American taxpayer. And in the FBI's own words this week, Deripaska is the Kremlin, a close associate of Putin. So in other words, the federal government says McGonigal, as a top FBI leader, took almost $250,000 in secret cash from the Kremlin. Kremlin cash to investigate Kremlin enemies and do their bidding. The money was then processed through a series of shell companies, money laundering factories, basically. Sound familiar? No wonder the FBI turned a blind eye to all of the Biden family shell companies. So maybe we were wrong about this all along. Maybe it wasn't the Swamp's playbook that the Biden crime family used to launder foreign money deals. It's looking more like the Biden crime family was using the FBI playbook, doesn't it? And for years, they wanted you to believe that Trump was the guy taking Kremlin cash. Excruciating years and many millions of dollars later, not a shred of evidence to back their taxpayer-funded lies. But back to Charles F. McGonigal. What drives a man to betray his country like this? Is it the money? Risking 20 years in prison for $225,000? Trying to understand traitors and why they do it has filled libraries with spy novels. Who knows what drove Special Agent McGonigal? Here's what we know. Charles McGonigal made a career of being the guy everyone answered to inside the bureau. Day to day, McGonigal answered to nobody. He's answered to nobody for a long time. Put this guy in front of the politically appointed FBI director, the director listens to what he says. McGonigal is a career government employee. The director is just the new kid, simply appointed by each new president. So when a guy as senior as McGonigal runs the show, everyone below him does what he says, everyone above him does what he says. He is Mr. Invincible, at least in his head. So this was something he could get away with. And who knows who else in the FBI was involved. If McGonigal is dipping into the foreign money cookie jar, you think no one else at the Bureau is? Where does the FBI and the DOJ go from here? Investigate them all, I say. The FBI needs to apologize to Trump. The FBI needs to apologize to the American people. The FBI needs to apologize for not chasing down enemy number one, but for becoming enemy number one. That doesn't offer an escape for a complete dismantling of this sham bureau. The Kremlin's greatest victory was to compromise top-level U.S. government officials like McGonigal, then make those assets blame Trump and Republicans. Remember, Trump was the only president Putin really worried about. Trump leaned over and in his Trumpian way painted Putin a picture for what would happen if the Russian president ever stepped one toe out of line. Remember what he said? He said, imagine all those spirals at the Kremlin flying into the atmosphere. And you know what? Putin did imagine that. Putin seemed to have made a policy of invading Ukraine only when Biden was in office, whether as vice president or president. Meanwhile, waging a war with America by commandeering its intelligence apparatus, buying off guys like McGonigal. So in the end, McGonigal was the dupe whose arrogance and middle-aged disappointments made him a living portrait of the kind of double agent the Kremlin has long targeted. The big question now is, why are we even finding out about it? If the FBI is as corrupt as we suspect them to be, why wouldn't they just cover it up while friendlies are in the White House? It's obvious. They're holding McGonigal's head up as a peace offering to the American people in an attempt to salvage whatever shreds of dignity they can scrape out of the DNC gutter. McGonigal's embarrassing arrest and indictment is the DOJ begging the American people not to turn against them. Imagine how bad things are for the FBI if this is the guy they sacrifice, one of their top men. If we just confirmed this past month that the CIA assassinated John F. Kennedy, how many skeletons do you think are lurking in the FBI's closet? It goes back to what I asked at the very beginning. Ask average Americans how much they trust the FBI and its leadership right now. The numbers might be as low as Biden's approval ratings. In other words, any lower and we'd be in hell if we're not already there.